Let's take a look at what other people told us when we collected this data. Here's what it looks like. Business leader, 7%. Community leader, 11%. Entertainer, 2%. Family member, 40%. Political leader, 4%. Professional athlete, 3%. Teacher, coach, 26%. And none, 7%. Now, look at just the top vote getters, which would be first, family member, similar to this group. Second, teacher or coach, 26%. And then civic leader, community leader, somebody who is out there in the community as an activist leading. That's 76% of the most influential role models come from those categories. And yet when you think about leadership or read about leadership, who is promoted, at least in the business world, as the leader we should model our behavior after? The business leader category, right? Or potentially maybe a political leader or a military leader. But rarely do people say, my mother or my father. When we're studying leadership inside organizations, do we read case studies about your parents? Do we read case studies about your teacher or a coach? Do we read case studies about somebody in the community? Typically we don't. We pay attention to the behavior of business leaders. But in fact, if you look at the data, most leaders that had the most impact on us come from categories other than those that we frequently look at in the people that make the headlines. As influential as Barack Obama is currently on public policy, on a day-to-day basis, he is not the most influential person in your life or my life. Eric Schmidt, as influential as he is at Google, is not the most influential person day-to-day on your behavior. So as you look at these three categories, what do they have in common? Family member, teacher, coach, community leader. They're personal. You know them, they know you. In fact, what this data tells us is very simple. The leaders who have the most influence on our day-to-day behavior are those who are closest to us. That means inside organizations or outside organizations, the people that are going to influence us more than anyone else are those individuals. If it's a manager we report to, our most immediate manager, or if it's someone we're working with on a project who's a team leader or a project leader, or if it's an informal leader who has a good idea that other people wish to follow, it's that person that has the most influence. That means in this room right now, the most important and influential leader is you. Because each and every one of us has the capacity to influence those people who are closest to us with a good idea, with our behavior, by setting a good example. And so this data suggests to us that we need to get out of the box that puts leadership in the category of something that only managers do or people with titles do, and think more like we do at Google, which is that leadership is everyone's business. It's not the private reserve of a few charismatic men and women. It's not something that comes with a title. So, how do we become the best leaders we can be? This is the short answer to this question: learning. What Barry Posner and I found in our research, along with Lillis Brown from University of Saskatchewan in Canada, is that the leaders who learn more and are engaged in more learning more frequently become the best leaders. Now, that's no surprise to anyone in this room, is it? The more you practice, the better you'll be at anything. So just a wild guess. How many hours of practice does it take on a daily basis over how many years to become the best you can be? At anything. Anybody want to take a guess? 10,000 hours. 10 years, 10,000 hours to get to a championship level, to get to a level of performance like Lang Lang is as a pianist, or someone who is highly capable at a sport or at engineering or at music or at art or anything in which they engage. A guy named Kay Anders Erickson at Florida State University has been doing research on this for years, and through all of the research they've done found that basically we have to practice 10,000 hours over a 10-year period of time, and there is no fast track to it. You can't cut the time down to 5 years by practicing more hours a day. When I had a chance to to have a conversation with Long Long. My wife Tay and I were attending a concert. We went to a reception of Long Long after, the pianist, a 26-year-old pianist some of you might be familiar with. And I asked him, I had the opportunity to talk to him, and I said, when did you start playing the piano? He said, 3 years old. I said, how often did you practice? He said, well, the first 15 years I practiced 6 to 8 hours a day. Now that I'm performing, I only practice 3 hours a day. Which is really interesting because if you take 10,000 hours in 10 years, that's about 2.7 hours a day every day of the week for that 10-year period of time. Learning is how we become the best we can be. So if you have the aspiration in this room to become the best leader you can be thinking 2.7 hours a day every day for the next 10 years and beyond, because we're always learning new stuff. In fact, you might be practicing more hours a day now, but less hours a day in the future. The best leaders are the best learners.